Hi, Jacob, Unisport Web TV here in Herzogenaurach in Germany, visiting the PUMA Football Headquarters with Pascal van Essen. Pascal, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
We're going to talk the brand new PUMA evoPOWER 1.2 today. Now, first of all, what do you do and how do you set out to improve such a big success as the first evoPOWER?
I mean, the good thing for us is obviously that we've done a lot of research for the first evoPOWER. So we have the barefoot concept, where you basically mimic the barefoot movement, where you can stretch the shoe and therefore you get more power behind the ball. So we obviously created the first shoe with the materials, with the knowledge, with the innovations we had available at that time. But for the second generation, you learn new things. You know, what worked well on the first generation, what didn't work well, and you try to build that into the second generation. New materials become available, and all that is basically now become part of generation 2 of evoPOWER.
Now, probably you gathered a lot of insight from pro players and amateur players and probably all the way around pretty much. But what were the main points of the insights you got?
I mean, of course we have the study that we have available from the university. I mean, the Chemnitz University is a very renowned biomechanical university, and they give us a wealth of information that we've implemented into evoPOWER. But of course as well the testers. During the phases of testing, I mean, obviously you have 10 hours, 20 hours, but then you also have 40 hours, 80 hours. People get more and more knowledge the longer they play a shoe. And one of the small things is, for example, the finish of the upper material. It's very small, but the upper material of evoPOWER 1 had a shiny coating. What you don't find out when you test in the summer is that if there's a lot of rain or if it's very cold, that it might get a little bit slippery. That's something that we've implemented into evoPOWER 2, what actually makes the boot a better product.
Speaking a bit more tech, which is what we really want, I've been looking forward to this. What are the main tech changes of the new evoPOWER 1.2?
So on the evoPOWER 1.2, one of the main things is obviously the upper material. We've got a completely different coating, which is actually much better, especially in wet conditions. In addition, we've implemented as well the grip tags. This is a coating on top of the material, which helps actively creating a better friction between your shoe and the ball. And that is both in wet and dry conditions. You have a better touch and a better control. This is actually not something just for the evoPOWER 1, but is also going all the way down through the takedowns. What is very new in addition is that obviously evoPOWER 1 had the AccuFoam in pieces on the vamp, which was quite visible. What we've done for this new generation is that we actually extended the amount of AccuFoam, so it's now all over the vamp, both on the medial and the lateral side, plus that we've incorporated it into the lining. The challenging part is always making a one-way stretchable shoe, because before evoPOWER that just did not exist. And what you can see here as well is that although we've laminated 2 layers together, the stretch is still there.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And this is obviously something which is very important because of the barefoot kicking that we need to get out of the shoe.
Let's look at the upper itself. It's still Adapt-Lite, and I think it's fair to say that it was, for you and the business in general, a pretty revolutionary upper. Have you made any changes to it, or is it mainly the finish that you've changed?
The upper itself, we have a new generation of Adapt-Lite, so it's a little bit more fine-tuned, it's a little bit softer. Also, because of the integration of Adapt-Lite, the lining and the AccuFoam, the shape of the shoe has become much better, so it actually fits better. Not just the first 10 minutes or the first 10 games, but actually throughout the life cycle of the boot. An additional benefit is, of course, that you need the stretchability in the front, but you still need the stability from the side. Because obviously in football there's a lot of sideway movements as well. And this is where you can see up close especially, there's almost like an impression on the shoe. And this is really to dense the material in areas where you need the stability, yet leaving enough space that there is actually the flexibility which allows for the barefoot kicking.
Now looking at the AccuFoam and the lining.
Yes.
Now, as you mentioned, it's moved on from being just pods into being, this material in the inner lining. But what are actually the benefits of the AccuFoam?
When we did the research for the original evoPOWER, one of the things that became apparent is that if you kick with your bare foot, or if you kick in general, is that the ball clearly, it really wraps around your foot. I mean, the deformation of the ball is enormous. And the uneven surfaces that you have that here in your hand, but you clearly also have it in your foot. And those uneven surfaces, they create for inaccuracy in your shot. So if you can balance out the uneven surfaces, your shot is becoming more accurate. And this is why we're using the AccuFoam. The good thing is that it evens out the uneven surfaces. It's really thin, lightweight, and at the same time as well, especially for you in Denmark, even in winter, it keeps the same properties. So regardless if it's -20 or +35, you exactly have the same conditions from the AccuFoam.
Also talking about, the GripTex technology on the upper of the boot. We've seen that obviously on the evoSpeed with pretty big success.
Yeah.
Was that something you learned from the evoSpeed that you wanted to implement, or was it based on player feedback? Or
it's definitely something that we got as feedback from players, that synthetic shoes in general have the tendency to become a little bit slippery in wet conditions. With evoSpeed, we had the positive reactions to the GripTex because it clearly helps to break the water film between the shoe and the ball. So putting it then onto the evoPOWER shoe was a very small step that we were quite happy to take.
Now, you've also made some changes to the heel. We don't have this black tab anymore, but it still feels pretty flexible. Can you take me through the changes there?
If you look at the heel, for example, one of the things that you can see is that we've raised a little bit the heel itself, so that it cradles the heel better, so having a better heel fit. We keep the perforations to keep a very soft heel that also, when you have the barefoot kicking movement, it collapses, so it doesn't interfere with your Achilles. One of the things which is very important to us is actually the heel counter. This is a customized heel counter for the evoPOWER shoes, where you can clearly see there's a notch in the heel, and this notch basically allows for the movement in the heel so that it doesn't have a negative pressure on your Achilles.
Obviously, the sole plate hasn't changed that much.
Yes.
Is that because you just thought, well, why change a winning team? If it ain't broken, don't fix it.
I mean, obviously we don't want to change things if they actually work. No. So we focus really on the areas where we think, okay, there we can make a next step. If we're not confident that we can actually deliver a better product, then let's keep it like this and then work on further revolutions, and then we will bring those in the future.
You kept the wide last, the Evo Apps last. Was that also some feedback from the players, and why? It is a relatively wide boot.
The fit is a little bit wider maybe compared to the speed boots, but it's also partly because of the upper material, the Adapt Light, which is really soft, really minimalistic, and really allows your foot to breathe within the shoe. The last is something that we're always evaluating, because obviously it's the foundation of any product. But since the feedback here was so good, for the second generation we've actually stick to the last.
Now, when you've actually launched the boot, how do you follow the reaction, both from your pro players and also like amateur players?
I mean, obviously the moment of the launch is fantastic. There's a whole team behind the product. I mean, between designers, developers, test managers, people that are supplying the materials, there's such a huge amount of people working on the product. And all of them are just waiting for the launch. And then, the boot hits the market. You obviously check out Unisport, see what the reactions is from the consumers, see how you guys do the movie, what your comments are. And it's just very interesting to see what then the public says, and also to look at, okay, what is the reactions after, for example, a month. Yeah. Because the launch is always the first peak, but then also to see, okay, how do people feel about the boot after they've worn it for a certain time.
Now, Pascal, for you, if you have to describe what needs the evoPOWER 1.2 will cover for players out there, what would you say?
You definitely have the power benefit of the barefoot kicking, the Adapt Light, but also the additional touch benefit. It's a boot that's weighing just over 200 grams, so it's still a lightweight product, but it really supports the players, midfielders, strikers, but also defenders in their shooting, their passing, the control of the ball. So I think it's a very all-round boot, but with a definite focus on the shooting aspect of the game.
That's a pretty awesome sentence.
And it's true.
That's good to hear, Pascal. Thank you so much for talking to me. But what do you guys actually think about the new PUMA evoPOWER? Are you just as excited as I and Pascal are? Well, you can let us know in the comment section below, because this was all we have for you for today. But as always, we're back again later with more Unisport Web TV. We're signing off. Cheerio.